everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Self-Consciousness Podcast. I am your host, Jennifer Way. I wish you could see me right now. I'm really throwing some emotion and gestures behind this. Maybe you could feel it in the sound. Who knows? I'm so excited to share this episode with you today. This is really just a call with my friend. I invited Patrice Bouedibela to come onto the show because he is my most famous friend, and that's what you do when you start a podcast. So, just in case you didn't know, you heard it here first. Patrice and I met many years ago, over 20 years ago, when I interned for Bouedibela Productions, and he was a cast member on Road Rules. For anyone who's old, you might remember it. If you're not, look it up. It's where all your reality TV show was born from. Shows. Can't speak. Thanks for joining us. I hope you'll stick around. It's pretty funny. Talk to you soon. See you inside. So I literally looked you up on Wikipedia so that I could formulate some kind of intro, and I was like, oh, he's an actor, TV presenter, model, but I added reality TV show veteran.
Yeah, that sounds weird, doesn't it? I mean,
Patrice,
specifically when, but
how
it
do you
seems
say
that
your last name again? Bouedibela. I'm doing it.
well, it's difficult now saying it with someone who's, but usually people call me Patrice, like just the way that you do it, because they assume that I'm like American or anything like that. So it's funny because I'm been named after Patrice Lumumba, which is like a former African prime minister. And so I grew up rather having kind of a French way of saying my first name. But you know, I tend not to correct people anymore when they give me this American thing.
Oh, like Patrice instead
No,
of
but having
Patrice.
no in having that type of resignation, which I have here in Germany, it's kind of funny that it's been a while that I had to talk to someone who's not German about my last name. So, you know, in my mind, I would try to explain people how to pronounce it in a German way. So now it really freaks me out of trying to find an angle how to explain it to you, because either way it should be wrong. But then right
Can you
at the
give me all
same
three?
time. Um, well, if you would go fancy pants, the French way, it would be like Bouedibela. Like, you know, like,
Bouedibela.
oh, yeah, that would be like the
Okay.
French way. But I'm just happy if Germans would say Bouedibela, which of course sounds much harsher. That's what German in general seems to sound to so many people out there.
Yeah.
And in English, I don't really know. I think like Bouedibela. I, I, I just feel like whoever tries it outside Germany or France, it's kind of a tongue twister. Um, but
Well,
it's
you know, I used to have a last name sort of similar. Well, not really, but for Americans, difficult to pronounce.
but you know what? Oh no, actually no. I just realized that I switched already your name in my contacts, so I have
You
your new
did?
name. But
Yay.
but the minute you said that, I was like, yeah, what's the other name than Bobot?
It was Bochbut.
It
Bochbut.
was Bochbot,
Bochbut. Bochbut.
but it
It's
sounds
hard.
more Arabic than Hebrew.
I know. Well, because I mean, it's a Berber. It's a Berber last name. It's Bochbut. Bochbut means man with like a little extra like tummy. Basically,
Are
my
you
last
kidding me?
name
This is like
means fat.
this like it's two syllables and you just make a whole sentence out of it. That's what I love the most, when you can manage just to make out of a sound like a whole story. Like my name is E. What's E? E is the one who climbed that mountain in order to catch the stars, but defeated the sun and came back with love.
Yeah,
E. Simple
exactly.
as that.
So much in a name. It really is. Well, what's your? Do you have a? Does your last name mean something?
It does, but
What does it mean?
I'm trying not to
That's
mix it
okay.
up too much. No, because my whole name is Patrice Batola Minamona Bouedibela. So altogether like four names. And as if I remember correctly, because I haven't done that in a while. it's really weird. The older you get, the less you just you become less egocentric and fed up of like explaining yourself. So you don't have the habit anymore. Seriously, I just realized like while talking to you, but it was my experience. That's what it's supposed to mean. That's what it's supposed to mean. So like
Really?
I'm very it's like really thin ice that I'm walking on right now. But apparently it just means my experience.
Oh
Now
my
I don't want anyone being like, oh, this one time you said that your name means now it's actually quite the opposite. Is
Patrice, this is not a large audience. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, but it doesn't. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It always chances. I mean, this is how the bad stories always begin. Oh well, I, I didn't know. I mean, seriously, I truly believe there would be less Karens if they would actually understand that this can turn out to be a huge story.
I'm like, Patrice, don't worry, no one's gonna hear this. I
Yeah, but you
promise.
know what I
No
mean.
one's gonna hear this. I'm just
Y-
kidding.
Yeah, but these days, it's
You never
anyway.
know.
I
Yeah.
mean, recalling that out of which media age we've met or
Oh God.
and how it got developed. I mean, it doesn't really matter sometimes. I mean, I just had the discussion yesterday about influencing or what an influencer means, and it's such a variety of things that you can say about an influence. I mean, there used to be a time where you called them testimonials or ambassadors or whatever, but it really can be that you just have a discussion between like two people and it just got leaked or released somewhere and it just has like a massive impact. At the same time, you can talk to an audience of 1 million and do nothing because like people, yeah, seriously, because
I know.
people just
Yeah.
they hear you but they don't understand you and they don't really see the impact. And sometimes, I mean, how many celebrities, entre parentheses, have been a part of the cancel or have been victim of the cancel culture because about something that tweeted 10 years ago
Yeah.
and about something that nobody really paid attention anymore, and all of a sudden the right person or maybe even the wrong person just heard anything about it and then it became an issue. So I think
I mean, I
it's
hope we're living in a world where you explaining your last name does not come back to haunt you.
so do I, but it just led to this idea
I
again with
know.
someone that I know now for so many years already. This is also quite amazing knowing like when did we met? I think like in 97 already. Yeah, the first time that I was in the
Yeah.
US, that was in 97. So
1997, everybody. So I've known Patrice for a very long time, more than half my life. Ew.
yeah, spooky, isn't it?
That's so weird because so Patrice for so just to kind of give a full sort of backstory,
Wait a minute, your kids are out of college already?
no, God, they
Okay,
act
okay.
like
I just
it.
I, I
I
just I just
know.
want I just want to make sure that it's not that long. All right, good.
I know, like, were they our age? Are they now the age we were when we met? But so I interned for Road Rules, MTV's Road Rules. I don't know if anyone listening remembers this show. And Patrice was a cast member. Patrice was on season 3 of the European season. And I was, I mean, like, I was starstruck. Like for me, this you're like you're a big deal. Like I mean, you're still kind of you're a big deal in Germany. And
Yeah,
like for me, it was
I'm no,
like
I'm still kind of a big deal,
just
anchorman
I
style.
know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm and we're so lucky and we're so grateful that you decided to spend an hour with me.
Yeah, but I had no idea. Once again, I'm from Germany, and
I
Road
know.
Rules, all this reality TV formats didn't really exist in
I
Germany, so we
know.
didn't have kind of a relationship towards it. Uh, before you carry on with the
Yeah.
your part of the story, this is why I was so surprised when once I met Kuba Gunig Jr. in Berlin. He was there for the film festival, the Berlinale, and that was about the time that he got nominated for the Oscar for what was it, Jerry Maguire.
Yep. Yep.
Show me the money.
I remember that.
Uh,
I
yeah,
remember
and
this story too. Go ahead.
yeah, and I was like absolutely, I was starstruck because hey, that's the guy from Boys in the Hood. Um, and it also like just thinking about that the even the director passed away, so that's
That's
also like kind of
right,
weird.
John
Yeah,
Singleton. Yeah.
and so it was kind of weird that I met him and I'm told him like my kind of backstories, those kind of like chit chats you have on parties. And again, I told him like, "Oh, it's so great! And congratulations on your Oscar nomination." I mean, what he said, that was a different story about that. That was also like something that kind of like um had an impact on me. But him saying like, "Oh, Roads, yeah, I just watched that with my wife. We love that show." So that was like absurd to me as a
Yeah.
German kid. I mean, already being the German on the show, I mean, that
Yeah.
tells a lot about things. That was before any type of movements came up, for
Oh
that
God.
matter. But I would never have expected to be the German influencer ambassador
Yeah.
on that type of show. And here we go. And here we are, decades later, talking on your podcast
I
vi-
know, right?
via the internet, as easy as it is.
Crazy. I mean, it's also crazy to me. I didn't realize this. We were talking about this the other day that like I didn't realize they brought the real world back on TV and they like did a reunion show with the first season and it's on like Paramount Plus, which I downloaded so that I could watch the Harry and Meghan interview with Oprah. Didn't work.
But how was it? How was
It
how was
was,
the
you
the
know,
the real world?
it's interesting because as I was watching it, I was like, oh, I literally in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, so they don't have a lot of footage. So there's a lot of like cuts between the past and the present. And in my mind, it was like, okay, they're doing a lot of creative editing because they don't have that much footage. Because I realized they only got back together into the loft for like 1 week, so they had to like stretch that out, I guess, into a season. So there's just a lot of like for me, I'm looking at it from like a TV production standpoint. I wasn't like because it's just them sitting around being like, oh my God, can you believe it's been so long? I can't believe it's been so. Remember that fight we had? I'm like, oh God, this is like what it's become. Because what I think the world now, especially younger people, don't realize is like reality TV started with your shows. Like it started with the real world. It started with Road Rules in a way that like we had never seen before. There had been documentaries, there had been things sort of along those lines, but never as branded and like hyped up as like, you know, with like cool music. Like it wasn't MTVified. So like when MTV took over reality TV, it just exploded into this. I mean, I don't even know what they're if they're still doing like challenges or but yeah, it just made me feel very
No,
old and
they didn't have
frustrated.
to do any challenges on the real world. That was specifically
No,
for road rules.
no,
And
I mean like nowadays, I think they might even still have like these crazy iterations of road rules that has like become like, you know, kill each other. Like let's see who wins. It's just
no, I
gone
know,
so
absolutely.
far. But
Absolutely. And
yeah.
I must say I was very surprised when I learned that it was the same production company that did the Kardashians. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's right.
yeah, indeed. And of course I by watching I watched this one episode or two. No, I had to watch like two episodes. The only time or the first time that I saw the Kardashians was when Kim and Kanye just got together, and it was amazing how they managed it just to stretch this whole episode out to the fact that like now Kanye on Meet the Kardashians,
Oh my
and
God.
it's really they stretched it out to like a 1 or 2 minute moment where Kanye appears in that show, and I felt so betrayed. It was like, seriously, you just stole a whole hour of my life for just like a 2 minute moment. So which brought me nothing. I'm not gonna exaggerate saying like nothing but pain. But the point is, I was at the same time I give you kudos. It's amazing how you guys manage it just to waste my time. And that's a it really takes a certain amount of skills just to be able to do so, because most of the time it's always interesting when people who are from those reality formats in appearance, and people always ask, yeah, but what is it that they achieve, what are they capable of doing. I mean, it's kind of funny that people have that attitude, keep on talking about that, and then ask themselves how come, without realizing that they are by themselves the part of why this has become a phenomenon, because they just start asking
Your
themselves.
attention. That's
Yeah,
that's the end. That's the end game. Your
but it's
attention, and it works.
2021. Yeah, and it's 2021, and people, or specifically audience of that type of show, still don't understand that. So by saying that you might not understand, or I don't think that younger kids or younger viewers wouldn't get it or understand the impact of those type of shows. I truly believe that to a certain degree, even older ones, and I include ourselves, a whole generation is still not comprehending what is going on to this day. With all the
Yeah.
knowledge, with the internet, they still don't have a clue what media is about.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. Well, tell us. You've been in and out. I mean, you've been hosting, you've been doing interviews, you've been presenting, you've been doing so many things, and you've managed to like, I don't know, I feel like you've managed to kind of adapt for these last like 20 years, you know, into
Um,
this like internet age.
I said, well, I think like the it's a weird thing. I mean,
I
I'm
feel like
far.
I feel like I'm being a host who's like, you're doing such an amazing job.
No, seriously,
I
I've
mean,
seen worse.
Patrice,
I've
you
seen now, not that
suck.
you're worse
So
in any.
now
No,
answer.
no, that you're
Just
not.
kidding.
Not that I would say that you're worse in anything. Not at all. No, you do. You're doing great. No, because seriously, this is what I'm getting on a site. This is what I'm getting from Clubhouse. I've never been as annoyed as now. Never before I've been as annoyed as now when I'm into any of those American rooms. I mean, there are different type of qualities of rooms, but this is where it, to me personally, it doesn't work. The American rhetoric doesn't work for me because I have more my impression of American culture is more on a visual scale. So things
Mhm.
that I saw um, either reading a comic book, watching a movie, watching a TV show, anything like that. Just yesterday, I just had a look on the Wheel of Fortune, which is on Netflix now, and I seriously said like it's not working for me at all because it's so old fashioned,
Yeah.
and this is what's kind of preserved on Clubhouse, so I'm not into it. So having this talk with you, I don't feel that at all, and this is not and it's not about
Mm.
complaining or criticizing. It's just that it's not working for me anymore because it doesn't continue. I mean, it's isn't it
Well,
funny that
it's
it
inauthentic. That's America for you.
yeah, but you know what?
That's America.
That was among one of the first things that I was most impressed of when for the first time I made it to the US after Road Rules and I made it to the MTV office and they were doing kind of a casting or kind of a rehearsal in a corridor and I was amazed how enthusiastic people are just for this type of casting or rehearsal, which showed me that it seems to be like in the American genes just to be a show a show pony for some reason because
Oh yeah.
you have I mean if you make if you make a comparison to Oxford English or American English, Americans are using, I mean, as although that English, Oxford English is supposed to be the more sophisticated language because it's so complicated and
Yeah.
makes and it's about extending a sentence uh, into infinity in order just to make a point. Say like, what time is it? At the time, are you expressing in the terms of Americans are so much more into metaphors, which to me, who was raised or grew up also like with the raise of hip hop culture.
Yeah.
So this is something that to me that was always working because I felt that was so much fresher, so much more entertaining. But for so many reasons, this has changed. Of course, I'm always grateful for American culture, and I'm still a sucker for American culture. But
Yes, you
it's
are.
sometimes it's yeah, but sometimes it feels like that I'm more appreciating it than Americans themselves because this is what has changed. The time that I grew up, it was really about we are Americans. We are. It was not even about being American number one. It was about being, you know, we Americans, we achieve everything, everything. Now, and but the rhetoric for the last 4 years was more like, yeah, the world is so unfair towards us. We have to defend ourselves. Oh, they're treating us bad, and where. And I didn't get it, but at the same time, still having that pride about it. That was really weird to observe. It's the same with, as I just mentioned, the hip hop culture. It's the same thing. I mean, at a time, to me, the hip hop culture was about like, you know what, life is shit, but I'm gonna do the best that I can just to get out of it, and I'm just gonna drag all my peeps with me. These times, it's just like
I mean,
who has the
we have two Americas. I mean, like,
Yeah,
I think
no, you
that's
have more than
important.
that. You have more
Yeah,
than that.
that's true.
You have
That's
more than because in modern communication, what we kind of forget is like you always talk about those people who even believe themselves to have an opinion, but actually they just have a mood more than an opinion. But we keep on forgetting those people who really do not care at all because they have better things to do. This
Yeah.
is the part, and this is not only an American thing, that's like worldwide. We always have the tendency to judge a society or an environment just by those who are the loudest. But sometimes because of that, we lost track of those who actually even achieving things but couldn't care less about what we think about them, and they just they're just doing things. This is
Yeah.
also like another part of modern society.
I mean, it comes down to attention again. It's like the squeaky wheel. The squeaky wheel is gonna be the one that gets the oil. I mean, it's like when you were asking about kind of like, or when you were talking about the American rooms, what's the difference between the American rooms in Clubhouse and then the German rooms? Because I've been in a couple of the German rooms, but obviously I don't understand a thing that's being said, so I don't get any sense of, like, I try to kind of get a sense of the energy in there, but
I
I have
think just
no
by
idea.
just with everything that I just said, I think um, Germans have the tendency not to love to hate each other or hate themselves, but actually are doing it out of love. And Americans, it's a different thing. They pretend to love each other, but actually they hate each other.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's I think that's what it is. We always have we always feel so bad about ourselves. It's like, well, yeah, I don't know if you care, but well, at least I would like, well, And Americans, it's like, oh my God, yes, oh great, but at the same time, like, screw you. And that's I think that's the main difference between a German
That's so
and an
interesting.
American's realm.
I
Yeah,
mean, that
I
could
mean, I'm
also
just
be
saying that.
why I hate all the rooms in Clubhouse, because they all sound like that to me. Like,
No,
they're all
because
like,
as I
thank
said,
you so much for speaking and sharing your truth. It's like, I can hear how much you don't care in your voice. Like, don't you know
yeah,
that?
but I love that. But I love at least that people get polite. I mean, remember? I mean, we started with talking about real world. I mean,
Yeah.
this is like, see when people stop stop being polite. Um, this
It's
is
true.
um, it has seriously, it has its advantages, but it also as much as it has some disadvantages, it also has some advantages. I mean, this is what I always admired about the American culture and the industry itself, is because they wouldn't worry too long about some things. This could be different,
Mm.
tricky in some other parts, but this is actually what makes them so progressive. But this progression has kind of like stalled all of a sudden. This is what I didn't get. What happened to America? Where I felt
I
like, well,
mean,
but you,
we got a reality TV president. That's literally what happened to America.
yeah, but then again, my first
I mean,
encounters
the
with American
reason he became
cultures,
president was because he was on a TV show for 8 years.
of course, but
Yeah.
also because Americans been already familiar with the fact that someone out of showbiz could be a personality in politics as well.
Yeah, of
Talking about
course.
Ronald
Well,
Reagan,
Reagan, yeah,
Schwarzenegger,
yeah,
Jesse Ventura,
yeah.
um, plenty of those. And I think this is, but also that's something that I admire. That's also something that I admire in American culture, that at least it seems that everybody can go through it. The only thing that I really don't get is um, why people, how come that Americans lost the love for themselves? That's what I didn't. That's what I didn't understand. I did.
Because
That's
they've never looked. We've been raised in a hypocritical culture, and we don't know that. We're like literally unaware. So we've been sort of surfing on this really sugary kind of wave that just has crashed down, and we don't know who we are, because it's like, oh, we have to examine the reality of slavery. Like, yeah, it's not just something you can be like, oh, but it was so long ago. Like, this is a huge issue for this country, that looking at ourselves honestly, we don't look at ourselves honestly. We have, we're hyper puritanical when it comes to sex, right? Yet we're like the craziest porn culture ever. So it's
yeah.
like we embody both polarities at the same time, and we're fucking confused. And I will even go as farther to say that most heterosexual American men are like, have no idea who the fuck they should be. At women, I mean, oh my God, we've got examples of what we're supposed to be all over the place, but we're
Yeah,
like, no, I think we're finally like, let's pull back from that and just kind of be ourselves. But
yeah, but
it's,
I'm a huge fan. But I'm a huge fan.
yeah,
Um, but I'm a huge fan of that. I think what happened with the Black Lives Matters movement that also had an impact on me, not because of my skin color, but just about the approach on things. And because everybody is talking about like equal, equality, equality, equality. Um, I say I'm a fan of equal rights. I think this is the most important thing, having equal rights as a benchmark within the society. But then again, I feel, and this is what I admire about America, because America always pretended, seriously,
yeah,
not only
exactly.
pretended, but also lived through the fact that everything is based on the melting pot, that everything has been
Hmm.
mixed together. But it was interesting that it was still very segregated in
Yeah,
terms of, and this is what I'm going for. I don't, because when it comes to this, for so many reasons, I really feel that the Me Too movement failed, um, because it just got moved into the wrong direction, because it was all about this one specific person, Harvey Weinstein, in the beginning, and it
yeah,
was about the systematic issue that we have there. Although that Hollywood is also like very specific area in comparison to the rest of the world, because the hierarchy is so much steeper, and also so much
yeah.
smaller of the people who are in control there, and all of a sudden they make kind of a man versus women issue out of it, and that made to me no sense, because to me it shouldn't be man versus woman. It always should be us as people together,
Well,
because
yeah, but
I
there,
because
but patriarchy,
um yeah, but even
like
even
inherent in
that.
every single structure. Like,
Yeah, but I
yeah,
personally, I don't think that specifically a woman would make a better boss in a company. I don't think
absolutely.
just by gender, I don't think so. I truly
Oh, I
believe that it's
agree.
a matter of personality, but in order just to have the chance of a personality to be developed, I think there should be a safe environment. And this is my opinion. Only you can only achieve that by living diversity, in order to
Yeah.
have a choice, something that you variables that you can compare to. Because if you don't see the rest of a society and always just limited on one demographic, of course there will never be a development which is
Yeah.
going to be helpful for the rest of it.
But I
And
mean,
this is what
this is what everything was built on. It
exactly,
was
but
that one perspective. So like companies, TV, like
exactly.
businesses, those were built by and for men. They were never intended to create a structure that was had a sort of softer side or a balance to it. It really, it was super hyper men, and that's basically what was built on. But it's like, I agree that like Me Too's kind of, because we're looking at, we're basically looking at a big dick, and we're like, wait, there needs to be more vagina around it, but it's a dick. Like, it's not gonna change.
Absolutely.
Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, it's, we need to just create completely different structures. Like, for me, I feel like this just all needs to be torn down. I think you need you need women of color, you need people of color creating and sort of being their own bosses, creating the images out there. And thankfully that's what the internet has been able to do. But there's just so many structures in place, and and they're even in place within us, this idea of hierarchy. No one needs hierarchy. Like, we
No,
have
you
a lot
need
of technology. There's so many things that can be done, in a more automatic way. Like, we don't need, we definitely have people who have more expansive skills, but you even see that, you see like people, women scientists can't even get a foot in, because just the environment is so toxically male, and there's really so much nuance that you can't break in there. And then for women to kind of operate in that sort of cesspool, it's like, it's just really difficult to be able to be strong. And I also agree that, yeah, equal rights, women are just as shitty as men, women can be even more shitty as men.
And
It's
you see,
just,
this is
yeah. Go
and I
ahead.
agree with everything you say about this the system itself. But I think the only way of changing that system is not about just like changing the heads, but just like really thinking,
Oh no, they
but
all
just
have
about
to
to
be
change
torn down and burned.
no, it has no this is why I'm saying like the approach needs to be changed, because one of my
Yeah.
favorite
Yeah.
stories, I don't know if you're familiar with Animal Farm.
Yeah.
You see, this is like how I see it right now. I mean, the main story is that the animals felt suppressed by the farmer, and actually just did like a coup d'état and got
Yeah.
rid of the farmer. And what happened is not a better society came up, but actually the same thing. Instead of the farmer, they used to be the pigs. And this is how I see it. When you just have, if you
George
claim
Orwell. George
you're
Orwell,
right,
right?
if
Was
you
extremely sexist and racist.
yeah, but still had a point. But still had a point for that matter. And this is
Of
also,
course.
and the thing is like, to me, people always consider the compromise of losing. Today it's not, it's always, it seems to be really just it's just to be everything to be to
Mm,
so digital. It has to be either this a zero or a one. There's nothing in between. And
mm,
think that we people, human beings, are so much more. And
yeah.
I'm not even going to this whole spiritual thing, but we're so much more than just like two opposite sides.
Yeah.
Because I also see, like, because I don't want to see, to me, women are not the opposite of man. It's just a different gender for biological reasons. Because the thing is, like, also in between women, there are harsh women, soft women, just as there are like harsh men and soft men. And I
Yeah.
think this is what I rather see and
We
see
are
as
a
an advantage.
spectrum.
Yeah, that's this exactly. This is what I'm going for. And talking about like this how to teach people that, it's going to be difficult, because as I said before, it doesn't really matter what kind of an audience. It really seems these days that the bigger the audience are, the more disorientated people seem to be. This is why you see sometimes that people are exhausted. They're lacking some rest. They're looking for something that, that can have, I mean, all these expressions that we didn't have like 20 years ago,
Yeah.
FOMO.
Yeah.
And I mean, that says it all, that people have a fear of missing something out, but don't care of missing their life because they're so worried about the life of
Yeah.
others.
Yeah. Again, it's that outward projection that like we are just watching something happen outside of ourselves. That's where our attention is going. And we're not really taking a minute to kind of disconnect from that and just kind of look inward and be like, do I even agree with everything I'm seeing? Does this all actually make sense to me if I really think about what I prefer and what I don't prefer? But I want to ask you a little bit about kind of like, I mean, you've essentially been a recognizable person, a celebrity
And
for
not only
the
because I'm
better
black,
part of
but not only because I'm black. I know that's an issue in America. Being black, it's you very easy recognizable for
easily
you.
recognizable.
If somebody's, if it's about looking out for someone who committed a crime.
Oh God, I know. I remember the first time you came. So you came to, I guess it was when you were, because you came to LA, and that was the first time I met you. And I think you had said something to me about like coming to visit Berlin. I was like, oh yeah, I've never been there, and you were like, I was like, oh, I'm not gonna go to Germany. And you were like, why? And I was like, because I'm a Jew. I was like, honestly, you were the only German person I ever knew for so long. And I was just like, I didn't, I was like, no, I'm like, Jews don't go to Germany for fun. Like that's bad stuff. Like that's bad memories. And
Yeah, but it's funny.
you were
It's
like, but you said, but I'm black and I came to America. And I was like, ooh, oh my God. Yeah. Boom. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, I'm just about to. I mean, I even recall this one time, the last time that I was in LA. By the way, I think that must have been like 2, 3 years ago. I don't even know. To me, every day seems the same these days. Um, try to
Yeah,
really. It's been a year already.
I
Okay,
know.
got it. No, but I recall the last time that I was like in LA at the airport, through customs, or immigration, and there was a black guy behind the desk, and he wanted to see some documents, and I couldn't just like realize, for some reason, I didn't know why, something had changed. I didn't had no network, so I couldn't show him the document on my phone. So I had no Wi-Fi, and I started to get nervous.
Oh
And
no.
he was like, yeah, why? And he was asking, why are you so nervous? And then And then I had to, and because that actually raised the red flag for him, and I'm told him like, well, listen, you guys are not really known for being like the most diplomatic guys in the world. I told him that right in his face. And the funny thing is, and that was before all the riots started. That was like years before the riots started in the
Yeah.
U.S. And there's this black officer who was laughing at me, saying like, "Well, I don't get it, why?" And now with the Black Lives Matters movement, I wished I could see that guy again and ask him again. So, what do you think about that now? That would be
Yeah.
an interesting aspect because to him as an officer, he couldn't understand why I would have those kind of ideas, and there you go. And because Black Lives Matters is something that also we in Germany been witnessing or observing, and it's interesting that of course specifically in the U.S. it doesn't really mean that all Americans know about that. I mean all the issues you have with that. It's I mean I'm not going to start saying like, well, there are good people on both sides. I'm not going to be that guy.
No. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think if anything, what's good about it is people need to be speaking up, and for people who are, and even about stuff that people who think they are, people like me who think they're well versed in, my own sort of level of discriminatory, maybe like unintentional discrimination that I might be putting out there or anything like that, or like my own sense of racism inside, that's like, it's like making everyone really stop and think about it a little bit more. And especially for white people, like this idea that like it's not a black person's responsibility to tell you how you're racist. It's like there was, yeah, I mean I definitely saw a lot of
Yes and no.
conversations like I definitely saw a lot of conversations that needed to happen. It had to be. That's kind of how I see it. I don't agree, like I don't have actually an opinion about how things came about or how things were organized and who did what. I feel like this was a movement that was inevitable. It needed to happen. It needed to get the visibility and support that it did. It needed to wake people up, and it needed, it just kind of, but I mean, yeah, I'm sure that it's definitely like shoved the needle a little bit. I don't know that enough is going to change that people are going to all of a sudden be like, okay, it's time for the utopia. I think that's probably, if people are waiting for that to happen, then they don't understand that it just has to kind of start within. I mean, that's another thing for me. It's like
Yeah, but
everything you're seeing outside is happening within you, and you have to kind of explore what that means for you personally.
Yeah, but I would like to disagree with the fact that it's not a black person's job just to explain how racist someone just encountered them. I
Yeah.
think to a certain degree, it's quite the opposite. I think again, you cannot generalize it. Of
Yeah.
course, you can expect that within a society that specific things should be said, but the thing is, the society is not like the perfect item. If there's anything, the only constant that you do have in life is change itself. I mean, even
True.
take it from a scientific point of view. If you take the universe, I mean, why how do we define time? We define time, a year for example is the 365 days that earth needs to circle around the sun. This is what we specifically see as a returning event. This is why we have this is 1 year. But if we go like from the sun, if we go even further and really checking out, are we seriously at the same very spot after 365 days? No, we're not. Because it's not only the Earth which is moving around the sun itself is moving within the universe, as we know, within the Milky Way and all of those kind of things. So there's always a permanent change. And also like our life, and this is something that we should be
Well, because
always
it's a
aware.
spiral. It's a
Yeah,
spiral.
right. Yeah, but the thing is, like, also, like, life is limited. So this is why always people tell you, like, listen, you should appreciate life because one day it comes to an end. And sometimes this is even like the greatest gift you can have because maybe if we will be immortal, seriously, we couldn't really enjoy life as we should do it right now because we know how precious it is.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is like the development is a continuous, it's happening continuously. Democracy doesn't live by the rules that are written down by the development in a society. This is like from time to time, you need to do some adjustment. I mean, just as we just mentioned, what happens in a few decades, how media has changed. So there's
Yeah.
also like the behavior and the approach, or even the amount of information that we're receiving, and it takes some adjustment. And this adjustment doesn't really reach out to everyone in the same way. So it happens that sometimes people are doing something and they're not aware of that, so it takes someone else just to tell them that. And having like
True.
parallels to this Me Too movement, I think the issue that we have there is that when women this is, I mean, this is why I always underline no means no. Like a real no means no. So
Yeah.
if a woman doesn't want to sleep with you as a guy, you have to accept that, and
Yeah.
that's fact. You can always talk about like, well, there's a certain degree of flirting, seduction, and all those kind of things. This is also part of the issue, but it's specifically when there's this one point where it's quite official that it's a no, then you have to accept that. And what I mean is, this is why women specifically, not only guys, needs to understand that, but it's also like that women at the on the same pod need to raise their voice, learning that they have a voice, that they have a value, that the same value, the equal rights as a man, just to live their life. And if part of their life is not having that dude or that person in theirs, or even that close or intimate, then that's what you have to respect. This is what I'm going for within a diverse society.
Yeah.
This other guy might think that I just even read about
But
incels.
I also need to just throw this out there. Just as much as we need to let women know that they need to speak up, we need to fucking smack men the fuck down already. Because I was just
But
reading
that's what I
something
just said.
today. Yeah, no, absolutely,
Not only
absolutely. Yeah.
That's what I said. That's what I said. It's not only.
Don't get
It's
me
not only.
angry. No.
Yeah, but that's what I said. Yeah, but the thing is, like, if you always angry, I mean, this is what it is. It's just about like angry
Oh,
people.
I'm
Then we all turn
fully
out to be
angry.
Karen.
Oh, but I feel like we have no, but there's righteous anger as well. I mean, what you do with the anger is a different story. You have every right to be angry about things, but if you're gonna go punch someone and hurt someone else, that's a different story. I
Yeah,
think
but
everyone has right to be angry if that's an emotion that feels like it's the next sort of
yeah, but I think it's
progression.
when it comes to rights, the issue of rights is,
Uh,
it's kind of weird. I just read for the
yeah.
first time in my life, I heard the term incels.
Oh,
A
oh God.
group.
Welcome
Yeah,
to
yeah,
America.
I've never heard about that before.
Oh
Just
my God.
yesterday, I read an article about it, and knowing that there's a group of men, specifically men,
Oh,
who assume, who
yeah.
consider them having the right of sexual intercourse, and therefore being rightfully angry about the fact when women are denying them any access, and this give them kind of the approval of being able just to criticize or starting hate speech
I
against
mean,
women.
incels are dangerous. I mean,
Yeah, but
incels are dangerous. But
again,
I'm just saying,
these
it's like
guys.
that's a reality for any women who are either online, or not to say that, like everything women do online is perfect, but women definitely experience verbal violence at a much higher rate than
Yep.
men
But,
do.
but Jen, the
Yeah.
point the point that I would like to make on that behalf is, these guys claim to have the right of having a sexual life. They claim to have a right, and that right, which is not granted to them, makes them angry and leads to what we just discussed, which is repulsive.
Yeah.
So what I'm going for is, I think there should be more aware of what they're doing, and understanding that this is not a right, and therefore being more smart about it. Because I truly believe most of the guys, if they would be smart about it, less angry, they could achieve something which is going to be much more helpful for society, but specifically for themselves. So in
Yeah.
that point, that's a perfect example that doesn't lead to anything positive. And it's even as far as I understand, again, like very thin ice, it is also like very scientifically proven that the minute as a human being, when you become angry, you're losing IQ points in that particular moment, because because
Yeah.
like all those strings in your brain are all of a sudden like disconnected, because you just go for an
Yeah.
instinct, but not
I mean,
for a thought.
that's like when you're driving a car and then you get really angry. And then in that time period, it's really dangerous for everyone around you, including yourself, right? But if you're angry
Abs-
sitting at home and you're not like operating a major vehicle or, like, talking to other people, I think having the anger, identifying the anger, and then being like, okay, what am I going to do about it? And then like calming yourself down. But again, it's about accepting the emotion, not kind of restricting it or punishing the emotion. It's like,
and
okay,
this is what
anger is a great fuel. Sometimes it can be great fuel, but again, you have to consider what your actions are.
we need to harness our anger. The thing is,
Yeah,
it's
exactly,
absolutely okay to be human, and to have to live through your emotions, and to be disappointed, and to be agitated about something.
yeah,
But again, this is what I see in a diverse society, that you understand that sometimes people have a different kind of opinion than you, but you should be
yeah,
still treating each other respectful, and being respectful to each other doesn't mean to bend your knee, but just really accepting that this is the best for yourself. So this type of compromise is not losing, but is actually winning, because if there's a woman, for example, that I'm not, if I would actually all the time just making sure that I'm above her, it's not helping me. It's not helping me in ways that it could be an advantage of, if I'm capable of understanding that someone is truly better in something than I am, and actually following them lead. This could enrich my life so much more than always being in that vicious circle of how can I defend my position.
yeah.
So
And
this is
that's
why
on both sides. I agree.
yeah.
Yeah,
So to me, it's really, I think like the approach that most people always have is that I want to take back which is rightfully mine. I think this is the wrong approach. I
I
really think it's like,
agree. I
wh-
agree.
I
I like,
truly believe, what is it that actually we can do together and actually to have even more?
yeah, I think if someone like, and I agree with you to an extent. Like, I feel like, yes, this is absolutely where we need to be. We all need to be responsible human beings. We need to take our own responsibility for our actions and not let our emotions affect one another in a violent or dangerous way. And I do agree that eventually there is going to, we do have to kind of, we have to live together. I mean, ultimately that's the point, right? Like, we need diversity in everything, in opinions and in representation, and in voices that are out there. But I also feel like there's just so much that people don't accept about themselves, so they really just kind of use the outside world as their like punching bag. So
And you
and
see,
again, I think men and women both do that, you know.
this is what I mean. This is why I really truly believe in how, I don't know if like the proper term for it, but in German, if I would translate it, that would be healthy selfishness. Because
Mhm.
being selfish is always considered to be very negative.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, selfishness is, um, these days, when you go to, I mean, you've been married for quite some time now, but if you go to all these dating portals, it's very interesting when you see all of a sudden, not really about people talking about what they are looking for, but it's like what they definitely don't want to have. And if you are this type of guy, and if you this and that, I don't, please don't write me, because I don't want that. So already, they're sending out that negativity. They
I
feel like,
know.
well, this is not never going to happen.
I
So
agree.
in this, and one of the terms that comes up quite often is like, oh, because my ex was he was such a not narcissist, so I don't want that anymore. I didn't even understand what being narcissistic
Narcissist.
really
Yeah.
means, truly believed,
Yeah.
because a lot of people, because even people come
It's
towards
a
me,
very
and in the
trendy term.
media
It's a
business,
very trendy term right now also.
it's a
But go
very
ahead.
trendy term. In I wasn't in specifically in media, you could tell that everybody's kind of narcissistic for
Yeah.
in its roots. They're very narcissistic, and
Yeah.
this is also like what you have to say. Everybody is narcissistic, because it happens with the it's
Narcissistic.
part
Narcissistic.
narcissistic. Thank you,
Yes.
narcissistic.
Okay.
Here comes excuse my French. Narcissistic.
There you go.
Because the thing is, I've been called a narcissist. Quite narcissist. That's the right term. Narcissist.
So narcissist
Yeah, a
and or
narcissist.
narcissistic. Yeah.
I've been called like a narcissist so many times, and I never really understood. And seriously, I never understood why. And I think most of the time that was also like from a wrong perspective. Until a very good friend of mine gave me the right lecture. She just gave me the right books, and it said uh, um,
Narcissism.
the
Nar.
inner narcissism,
It's okay.
narcissism, the inner prison, because to
Mm.
me, I mean, this term has been taken from that story about Narcissist, who was so in.
Narcissus.
No, his
Sorry.
name is Narcissist. No, his name is Narcissist.
Narcissus.
Narcissus.
Yeah. It's English. Okay. Say
All right.
what's the word in German? Why don't you just say the word in German? Let our listeners learn something new.
The German word would be Narzisst. To be like to be a narcissistic person is be
Yeah.
like a Narzisst.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and Nazis, that's the name that we know about this guy that was so in love with himself. And that's what I never really understood. When I had issues with somebody and somebody said like, okay, I'm a narcissist. I felt
Yes.
like,
You
oh,
got it.
that's not true, because I would never go as far that I would consider. I had so many issues with myself that never occurred the time saying that, oh, I'm so much better than others. They should understand that. I always felt misunderstood. And this is also part of this term, that you are sometimes so self-centered that you really, and for so many reasons, because of some traumatic reasons or however, that you always have an issue communicating with other people. But I was not ready to understand that, because I always felt that people consider me being arrogant. That's what you also heard when you like someone in the media. And so I never was capable of having a healthy approach to that, until I realized that I started again to love myself, or being more self-aware, aware in terms of like, wow, okay, I'm 6'2". I have the tendency of being louder than others because that's what I grew up on. And then I had to understand that not everybody is capable of coping that, or even has not the privilege even of doing so. So this is what actually makes people feel uncomfortable and starting to have to fear you. That's something I wasn't aware, because I always was rather pitying myself than being so much complaining about that people wouldn't love me enough. So
Oh, I
I
never
was
knew
more
that.
yeah. But the thing is, like, I was more in pity.
Yeah.
So this is when I realized that I really had to think of myself being self-aware, self-love. And this is a certain that's of a certain to a certain level, it's selfishness. Because if you go on a if you see it like from a smart perspective, because people always think, again, what I even mentioned earlier, that you will just get the most out of it when your opponent has nothing. So that means that you have most of it.
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
but I mean, this term sharing, this caring, doesn't come from anywhere, because like sometimes if you share joy, it's twice as much joy as you had before. And the same with sorrows. When you have an issue and you share that issue, it becomes just half of an issue, because you can deal with it much easier. And
Hmm.
this is where people should see that selfishness in a healthy way, when you're open about what your intentions are and open to talk to people, and leave this thing behind, that, yeah, but if I'm open, this people could hurt me, that you will gain so much more out of it, and from my perspective, than really always fighting with each other, because it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Because in the end, whatever we do, and we're leaving about our footprints and all that, it will be vanished from, maybe not in 10 years or in 100 years, but trust me, in a million of years, who knows who will ever talk about the human race. So we should really appreciate and really do what makes us feel better. And I think that when people understand that, and they get out of their angriness and being healthy selfish, they will understand that in order to do something better for themselves, they should be aware that around them people are also doing well, because then they will have less enemies, less stress, and less danger zones.
Yeah. Well, it makes me really happy to hear you talk about all this stuff.
Yeah, it's because
Like
I
it's
can't
really
sing. That's why I have to talk.
No, but it's like, I'm like, "Oh, Patrice, you've grown up so much these years. It's
Yeah, I'm
just like
old.
really
That's
nice
the
to
that's the
yeah,
expression.
I know, just like too grumpy at this point to have to do anything. I mean, like honestly, it's I love hearing you talk about this. And one of the, even bigger reason is that you do have a large following. I hate the word following, followers. I'm like, we're not a cult, but you do have such a large following and you do have such a big impact on people. Like you are well known in your, in your country, but I feel like there are people here who know who you are as well. I mean, I think like it's really exciting to hear somebody who is a quote celebrity or in the media in that.
Well, honey, just say I'm awesome. It's enough. It's enough. I'll just say I'm awesome. I love that. That's
No, you
great.
already know this about yourself, right? So I don't, you don't
Uh,
need to hear it from me.
no, but thank you. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
No, but it's like it's nice to know that you've got a very healthy sense of like a healthy understanding of we like to call it boundaries. And a big part of kind of like self-care, it's like, okay, I know myself so well. I love myself so much that I know this is bad for me, or this person who's saying this particular thing, that's no, that's I'm just gonna kind of keep that boundary up because it's like I don't want to hurt myself because this person is triggering me in whatever way, and just learning about your internal garden and making sure that you're taking care of it. And that's, yeah, I don't think that that's selfish at all. I think I also feel like people who call other people narcissists are usually narcissistic.
Yeah,
But it's like I remember hearing like, God, you're so selfish. But it's like usually selfish people are the people who say that because they want more of your energy. And it's like, just because I'm not giving you my energy when you need it right away, like they're on the opposite end of that spectrum, which is equally problematic because they're draining you of energy that you need for yourself. I mean, I love what you said about just kind of communication. It's like be honest with people, even if it's difficult, even if it feels vulnerable, and even if you don't want to be honest with people, just to kind of get to another place together, then write it out, figure it out on your own so that you can get comfortable. Because I mean, there's a lot of people on this planet. We're obviously here to kind of work with one another. So it just makes no sense to uh, you know, go it
yeah,
alone.
but sometimes really, in Germany we have the saying, äh, lieber ein Ende mit Schrecken als ein Schrecken ohne Ende, which means I prefer to have an awful ending
Mhm.
than having something awful without an ending.
Oh, interesting.
So sometimes this is what I'm saying. You really have to like figure out what's better for yourself. If you
Yeah.
just if you just want to waste your time in trying to just in order to appear nice to I
Mm,
mean, always
yeah.
still being respectful, but sometimes it makes more sense just to tell a person like, well, listen, this is the issue that I'm having with you, and this is why I can't cop with you, and so I would prefer that maybe we go separate ways.
Yeah.
Because I just had an ex-girlfriend who just wanted to be nice. She wanted to be appear nice to everyone else because she came from a family where it was apparently important just to uphold a certain image,
Yeah.
and she was so caught in it. I mean, she had an eating disorder because of that, because she wanted to appear for others, and that became an issue within our relationship because I would have expected her to be with if she intends to be with me, that means that she would be intent with me, and also like that, and not only expected
Oh,
from
wait, you're
me
cutting out.
to do so. Hello, hello, hello,
Hello, hello,
hello.
hello. Go ahead, go
Can
ahead.
you hear me?
I can
I'm
hear you.
here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, hello, hello.
Good.
Okay, so within this relationship, it became like very sickening, and the issue was she wanted to maintain that relationship, but I also didn't want it to give up because I didn't want it to be like the one who says, yeah, I gave up on her. But the thing is, like, just to a certain amount. I mean, just to invest some time and all that, that should be a natural thing. But then it really takes also a good environment sometimes it's okay not to be capable of doing things on your own and looking for help. And I'm not really
Yeah.
I'm not talking about a shrink. Sometimes it really takes some friends, or just like some other people who can give you an overview of life, and this that made it easy. I mean, what I'm just saying about the specific person, that's a person that is still dear to me, which I don't want to have in my life anymore, and I hope that
Yeah.
we won't see each other anymore, just for the sake of it, because I know when I meet her, it's going to be emotional, it's going to be kind of painful, but in the end, it's okay, because I realized that it was better that we got separate ways for each other before going into this toxic relationship. And I'm not blaming her, I'm just really
Yeah.
saying that it's the two of us. Although that I understand that she was trying to make to make the best of the relationship for her sake, and so did I for my part. But apparently, it didn't really fit. And understanding that, and again saying like, okay, what is it that I have? So I assume that I have so many decades left on my life watch. So what is that I'm going to do? Will I spend more time in order just to find something which is just going to be as important? I mean, this is the beauty of getting older. You are a certain degree experienced enough that you can say like, well, there have been so many things that you would never would have expected. Road
Yeah.
rules, just as one of the examples, and they happened. And even though they thought it wouldn't never get better, it's never about what goes on as long as you live. And so I had to make the tough cut, saying like, okay, it's a painful decision to say like, okay, this is the point where we are not going to go any further. So I rather have a life full of even if I'm by myself, but at least I'm trying, and this is I'm doing an effort of optimizing my life, than to convince someone who doesn't even want to be
Mm.
convinced.
Yeah.
So this is something I cannot change, or this is not my duty to change that person.
Yeah.
I can talk to that person just to a certain level. I mean, it's always a matter of how resilient you are for yourself. But that was the point where I felt like, okay, this is too bad. So no matter how harsh it is, it's better off without it, and then it's good.
What do you think you learned from that experience?
Nobody's perfect, once again.
Yeah.
And it's not about her, it's not about me. It just didn't fit,
Yeah.
and that's it. I still
Yeah.
wonder, with all the persons that are out of my life, even those bad persons, um, everyone, there's always a reason why someone is in your life. I
Mm.
mean, yeah, I mean, this is, I mean, you are a mother, and specifically, as a mother, you had to learn it the hard way. I mean, I recall that one time that we were in Chinatown in New York, and that was so funny. I always see that as as an example what it means. Like while meeting someone who has like young children with them, you always have just a certain amount of uh, um, what's the word? Attention.
Empathy. Oh.
No,
Oh
attention.
yeah.
You,
Yeah.
you just have a certain degree of attention, because of course, like, your children comes first, because you're raising them. You've been investing so much time. So the last thing is then it's just like to waste that investment. So you do the best you can,
Yeah.
as long as they need your help, just to be with them. So for
Yeah.
someone from the outside, you need to understand that this is what makes you as a person. This is your priority. And to me, it was funny. I mean, the last thing that I would do is being like, "Hey, listen, we agreed just to meet each other, so I want you to be 100% there for me. So who cares for your children? You know what I mean?"
Yeah.
And
Welcome
and
to
I
the
still
working office of the American woman, by the
right,
way.
and but not only American woman,
Yeah.
and
Everywhere. Yeah.
but I still remember, that moment that we had in New York as a pleasant afternoon,
Yeah.
and because I accepted your position
Yeah.
and took myself a bit out of the equation, and that made it to me really so pleasant.
Oh. Yeah. I remember that day pretty well. Yeah. I mean, your attention is totally wrapped up in these two little people, like literally just like to keep them from dying. Like that's the only,
Right.
like you don't even care if they're happy at most points. You're like, just don't, just keep, like let's make sure that you're eating food and that it's coming out the other side. Like that's
Right. That's also weird. That's also like weird.
I know, well, you're experiencing this now, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, seriously, like all of a sudden, like how number two has become so important. Oh yeah, he doesn't want to go. this is it's just amazing. It just freaks me out. And then you have like other people say like, well, listen, people are complaining the minute that I'm farting. If
Yeah.
I nobody pays attention when I am having a shit. But once you're a baby, you got all the attention you want for all these things that are considered to be awful.
I know. And you get excited by them. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, and you smell their butts and you're like, oh, you got a poopy. Good job.
Oh, that's a good one. Oh,
Baby.
that's a smelly one. Oh, awesome.
No, it's just funny when yeah. I'm really glad that they're older, I guess I would say. But yeah, I mean it's interesting, just kind of going back to what we were saying about changing. I was almost thinking like even if you did see this person, it might not be as emotionally charged. Maybe there's experiences that she had where she's been able to kind of evolve past that experience and hopefully learn something from it. I mean, again, that's not under anyone else's control except for her. But you never know, like so many things change. And I was even going to say like with parenting, it's easier now and it's harder because it's like it's less of the like physical make sure you're not hurt and don't have a fever or whatever and not throwing up, and more of the like, is everything okay with you, you know no, you can't play Minecraft right now. That's it's just like a different kind of, yeah, it's, oh, Minecraft, oh my god.
When you say that you're in the phase where you get a lot of eye rolling, I think that's something that people can relate to without having any specific stories. Yeah, see,
And
that's
it like it you heard, I mean, you heard that entire mess. Like so everybody listening, I left Patrice a message the other day and my kids were literally making fun of me in the background. Did you catch all of that? I don't even know if you, they were basically just like making fun of me.
yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but that's what kids are all about. And the thing is, like, it's great because like they just give you a chance just to remind yourself about yourself.
I know, it's totally humbling. It's like, I mean, sometimes I'll get really mad and then I'm like, oh, but that's my unhealed child responding. And I have to kind of like go in the other room and like relax. But they're so, I mean, and we live in a very teasing household. Like Alan definitely set that bar very high. So we're a very like, we're always slinging shit at one another. Like we're always joking or going off. I mean, in a loving way, usually.
So you're basically a Berliners. That's what you're trying to tell me.
Yeah, I think that's why I can
Yeah.
yeah, that's probably why I can hang. Um but yeah, it's so good to talk to you like for more than like 3 seconds. I feel like the only time we get to talk a lot really is just when one of us is in the other country, which obviously is not happening for a while.
Yeah, it's
But
funny. I don't even know when will be the next time that I make it to the US for some reason. I mean, this lockdown or the last lockdown that we are going through right now, which is well, it's getting a bit of ease. Um,
I thought so. I talked to my sister today, and I was like, "What should I ask Patrice?" And she was like, "Ask him if Germany's going back into lockdown." She heard that Germany was going back into lockdown.
No, we are in the lockdown, but not as severe as the US at this
Oh,
point.
okay.
There's a lot of envy. There's a lot of envy happening right now. It's like this is again like where you feel society's really kind of weird, like on a global scale. I mean, people were demonstrating that they didn't want it to be forced to get a vaccination. Now people are mad because there's not enough vaccine, and it's
It's true.
then whatever. No, there's
Yeah.
this one. There's this one politician. There was like one politician in Germany, a mayor of a small city, and he got himself vaccinated, and then people sued him because he was too young to be vaccinated. Um,
Oh my
and then you
god.
have our chancellor who got vaccinated, and people feel like, oh yeah, she's just pretending. It's not even the real vaccine in there. So there's always someone who has something to say about it. It's weird, and it was good for the rest of the world making fun of the US. I mean, not I don't mean it disrespectful. It's awful for all those people
That's
who
okay.
died. For my but I mean it's for one moment it was like, oh, America is the worst nation in the world who's dealing with corona. Now it's like, how come that the Americans are so good in vaccinating? Because you see really that feel that urge of the rest of the world being like, hey, wait a minute, the Americans used to be the dumbest people on the planet. Now all of a sudden they're coming through with this
That's
vaccination.
right. I
What
know.
is it that they're doing that we're doing
See you
wrong?
later, suckers.
Uh,
Here, buy some more Coke in McDonald's.
So yeah, we already
Here's some
did
more
Coke and
Netflix.
McDonald's. See, Netflix, for instance, is also kind of a cultural imperialism that is happening.
Yeah. Ooh,
Something that
I
you,
like that word. That's a great phrase. Cultural imperialism. That's
yeah,
true.
but that's what it is. That's what it
Yeah.
is. I mean, this has also been like a very interesting perspective that the Americans have when it comes to this whole thing with Meghan and Harry and
Oh,
the
yeah.
monarchy, and
Yeah.
because the thing is, I got criticized. I did a post on my Instagram account where you see Queen Elizabeth in a car, and somebody photoshopped a gun in her hand, and it says, um, "When you spend 32 million pounds for the wedding of your grandson." And your stepdaughter
Oh, I
start
see it.
bitching about you,
And his wife
bitching
starts
about you
bitching
on
about you on
television.
Oprah.
Exactly. So,
Straight
and
out of Windsor.
that's the thing that I added, and I also like put like this one song, this music on in the background, "Bang Bang" by Dr. Dre. And it was funny that like a blonde, blue-eyed TV host criticized me and saying like, "Well, listen, this is not a good one because like you have to imagine that she got some mental issues because she was because people have been treating her in a racist way."
What?
And I was
What?
like, seriously, seriously, are you trying to tell me what it's like to be treated by racist? Is that truly what you're going for? Not really. Apparently, she was not capable of seeing like the whole picture, because the thing is like, why would I make fun of Meghan for that matter by displaying this picture of Queen Elizabeth? Because I would understand if somebody says like that's very disrespectful towards the Queen. She is not a gangster. It's like, well, maybe not, but that's how I see it. Because the thing is, it's funny that so many people are shocked about, oh, there's racism in the UK. I was like, well, listen, the UK
My
has been built,
God.
the whole
I
monarchy
know.
is built on the exploitation of the rest of the world and all this imperialism. I mean, Americans, when they talk about the Boston Tea Party, it's exactly about that.
I
So
know.
so I understand. So I was like very shocked that people would consider it from that perspective. But it's a matter of perception.
Yeah. I mean, what's yeah, I
And for
almost like
no,
go
wait.
ahead, go ahead.
The story that I actually wanted to say, because I started with Netflix imperialism.
Oh yeah.
There's this one thing. There's this one thing happening right now that, which is a good thing. Netflix, not only Netflix, also like Amazon has this thing that over here in Germany, what they expect you to do is when there is a black character, they want you they want productions here in Germany just to make sure that it's also been spoken ideally by a black person.
You mean on
So
like voiceover work?
yeah, for
Like
voiceover, because
oh,
we have
like cartoons and
voiceovers.
stuff. Yeah.
No, not only cartoons, also like TV shows. We regularly have
Yeah.
like TV shows. Of course, through Netflix now you have the chance also to see things in the original version.
Yeah.
But usually most of the stuff over here gets dubbed. More than 50 up to 60% of the people over here enjoy rather a dubbed version than the original
Okay, okay,
version
okay.
because
So
of the
weird.
because of the language. Yeah, but I know it's weird for you. But now you have Netflix and Amazon coming up with the thing and saying like, yeah, we would like. It's a good thing. They want to support like a black community, but first and foremost, a country, a nation as Germany doesn't have the same history as America, meaning that we don't have such a variety of black actors as we would have in America. In America, it makes absolutely sense. Well, we need a black guy. Where to find them? Well, Atlanta, or LA, or pretty much every big city. It's a different thing in Germany. And
Wait,
then
are
again,
you getting voiceover work? Are you the only
um,
black actor in
no, I'm
Germany?
not. I'm not the only black, but we have these issues, and apparently somebody said, okay, this could be your time, because apparently they're looking now more for black guys. It's an advantage, and I'm happy about it if it leads to some jobs. But
Yeah.
but at the same level, to me, it's like very, and it's stupid, because the thing is like, I mean, I understand, but I understand that a black person in New York might speak differently than a
Yeah.
black person in Tennessee.
Yes. Yes.
And
You've
and
got it.
and also to me, that's a site that's some sorts of like racism and even being stupid. If you feel offended if a black person speaks as a white person, not because they want to, because they've been raised like that, because they're also those type of black people, and it's over here the same thing,
Mm,
because to my belief, the slang that you have, it's a matter of your environment, but not
yeah.
of your DNA.
Yeah,
If
of
I've been
course.
raised in a white environment, chances are that I might talk just the same way as they would, and vice versa. So I don't feel
Yeah.
offended if some white guys as speaking more slang than I would, because it's has to do with the uprising. To me, this
Yeah.
is like using my brain. So
Yeah.
coming up with the ideas like, yeah, we rather have black people dubbing black person. The big question that I'm having is why exactly? Like, thank you, I take the job, give me the money. But at the same time, this is a stupid approach.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like a band-aid. It's like a maybe everyone will be happy if we do this. That's what it feels like, which is like insulting in a way.
Yeah, but at the same time, but at the same time, look, if you don't have that resources on
Hmm.
talented, because dubbing it's a profession, it take years just to be on that level.
Yeah.
So it's not that like from one day to another you will find like great talents that are capable of doing so. And let's
Yeah.
let's say there's this one show, let's say that there's this movie Black Panther, and you just
Mhm.
want all actors being dubbed by we definitely will not find enough black actors who are capable of dubbing in Germany to dub in a whole Black Panther movie. So what would happen? You would take people who are not qualified but at least black, and
Yeah.
then you realize that the movie sucks in its German version. So maybe people would be not really into watching that movie because I feel like, yeah, the dubbing was really the movie was stupid. I didn't like the voices and all that. So because somebody wanted to have some black people having a job here in Germany, people in America wouldn't get maybe like another gig because people were so disappointed internationally, and they say like, well, no, apparently people are not so much into like black stories. You know what I mean?
Ah, God, this is just fascinating. I kind of wish my co-host Jermaine was here because he's trying to get into voiceover work now. God, if he could just speak German, he would have a ton of work.
He would ton of work, ton of work. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Oh
If
my
he
God.
qualified enough, that would be awesome. Not even for myself. The thing is, like, again, you just mentioned it. It's all about the band aid thing. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's good to have something that you can identify, that you can look to at least have a vision. Just as many people always said. I mean, some people said also that one of the reasons that Barack Obama succeeded is because people at least could um, could imagine what a black president would look like now that they've seen a Morgan Freeman in Extinction Level Event, or that they've seen this black president in
It's
24. No,
true. It's
you
true.
might laughing, but
Yeah.
this is
No,
what
I
this is what
agree. Well,
this
we
is
had
what
that show Veep.
Roddenberry had in mind.
Did you ever see that show Veep?
No, I just heard about it,
Yeah.
but I've
So,
never seen it.
having a female vice president
Oh
and,
yeah, Dreyfus.
just yeah, just even seeing it's like it's always feels good. I mean, here's the bottom line. Anything in media, anything in media is programming. And it's programming not just in the television sense of the word, but it is programming you culturally. And it's it is creating the culture. Our
It
media creates the culture.
co- Companies need to understand that diversity is a chance to improve everything. It
Yeah.
is not an up it's a chance. It's not an opportunity. The minute that you see it as an opportunity, it will backlash because it's not working. Best example
Mm.
for that, Star Wars. The minute that they're trying to be
Mm.
so into all the demographics and pretty much like showing the middle finger to like the foundation of the Star Wars cult, the fans. It
Yeah.
was not about the content, the story, but it was at least make sure that you have all the demographics being represented so that at least they can buy enough merchandise. And it almost killed Star Wars fortunately, there've been other outputs as like the Mandalorian TV show, which actually
That's
was
just
made
so
by.
interesting that you say that because we never watched Star Wars in our house until I never watched Star Wars because I was not like super interested in it. And then Alan never watched it because, he's like, whenever I ask Alan if he's seen a movie from the 80s or the 70s or even the 90s, he's like, why would I want to see that movie? It's just a bunch of white people. And I was like, oh, okay. So we just didn't watch those movies in our household. And then, like, for us, when we're showing movies to our kids, we want them to see Asian people on TV for sure.
Crazy Rich Asians. I understand. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
no, they're too young for that movie, but like, it makes a difference. I mean, my kids are already experiencing racism. I don't know, but I haven't even really been watching a lot of TV or movies lately. I don't know why. I think I know the impact TV has had on me, so I have to stay away from it for the most part because it just gets to be a little too weird. And I think almost going back to what we first talked about, it's like for me, I went into the television business. Well, I never really quite made it into the business. I tried, but it never really took me in. Like I went to college for it because I watched a lot of it. It's like, yeah, I love the craft of it, and I love editing, and I love all that stuff. But it definitely, it was because I spent so much time watching TV and like I didn't understand the separation. And it's like it took a long time for me to kind of wrap my head around this idea of seeing someone on TV and like elevating them, and then not really being able to relate to them in a way because it's like a celebrity or that person, they become like an object, so there's not really a sense of connection. But now it's different. It's like as a celebrity, it's like you have to connect with people through social media, like in personal ways. Now in Clubhouse, like you're actually speaking to people, and it's just kind of completely changed the way I mean, not it hasn't changed the way we see celebrities, but I mean, I'm also thinking about what you were talking about when you went to MTV and you saw those people in the hallway and how they were like super psyched to like audition in a hallway. And it's like there is just this thirst for celebrity culture. And I think that's I don't know if it's exclusively American. It feels
No,
similarly
it's a
like
human. It's a
it's a
human
human thing.
desire.
It's like it feels similar to almost how people regard the Royals. And the Royals kind of, it seems, know that, like they're kind of like the TV show, the favorite TV show of the people. So it's like, when do we stop kind of, putting our attention on others and really kind of start like pulling it back and focusing it inwardly? I mean, again, like I think knowing you in my life was a really exciting thing for me to see what it's like without having to kind of go through it myself. But like especially when I was in Germany with you and like your group of friends, and I think it was when we were in Hamburg, and they were all like actors or like they had been on soap operas and stuff, and just walking around with the group of you and just seeing how people kind of respond to this group of like models slash actors just walking down the street was so super cool to me at the time. And I remember just feeling like I had like a backstage pass. It was like I didn't have to experience being a celebrity, but I could sort of watch how you guys went through it or how you were experiencing it, and that was enough for me. But
Yeah, but I think it's a matter of an approach. And the thing is, like at least you have more of a choice than before. But by the way, we just talked now for almost 2 hours, just letting you know
yes,
that.
I know. It was like
And
I usually will start. Go ahead.
and as you just mentioned, the queens. Let me, from my part at least, like finish with a fun fact that I just discovered. The queen owns two of the largest diamonds ever found. The first, known as the Great Star of Africa, is mounted on her scepter. The other, known as the Second Star of Africa, is mounted on her crown. Both were discovered, entre parentheses, stolen in South Africa, and are worth 5 billion. So just a matter of what the monarchy in the UK or
They're not
in Great Britain
racist.
stands for.
They're not thieves. They're not
Yeah.
racist.
And by the way, this is also my best friend, of who has that child of whom I'm the godfather.
Yeah.
Um, she she's like 39, and she hasn't grown. I mean, she has a real job, and she hasn't been. She didn't grow up with the same pop culture as I did or as we did. And it's funny because like one time I showed her Indiana Jones, Riders of the Lost Ark, the first one, because I felt like, well, this is one of the movies you need to see because this is it's historic. It's one of the best movies ever. Steven Spielberg, Harrison Ford. You know, it's a great Lucas. Blah 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 blah. So only like within the first 5 minutes, she was like, "Well, apparently just men." That was the first thing she said. And a little bit
Love her.
further, yeah, a little bit further, she came up with the thing is, well, listen, well, it's interesting how normal it seems to have been, according to what I just said about the Queen, how easy is how normal it was for people just to go into foreign countries and steal their belongings just in order to put them in their museums.
Yeah.
And I was like, uh, well, that's you see, that's not the well, it's not the approach that I would go for that movie. Although you're right,
Although
but
she's totally right.
and the thing is, just to come back to what we started, I think this is what I mean, um, because this is also like seems to be like a big thing in America right now. Cancel culture is something that's happening also like over here for some reason. Um, I think it's about to find the middle because she's absolutely right. I don't think that Indiana Jones single-handedly is the evil of everything, but I
Mhm.
think it's good to have those kind of exchanges because it let me still enjoy that movie and still consider it as one of the movies that build
Shaped you. Yeah.
my world of entertainment. But it is good to have someone like her who showed me what this exactly meant and without spoiling my experience with that movie.
Mm.
So if one day I'd be in that position watching that movie, maybe with that godchild, with my godson for that
Yeah.
matter, I will have two perspective that I can give him, and who knows to what this will lead afterwards in terms of like understanding why this movie has been made. And I think in the end it will be something that will educate him far more, and therefore that's a win, not a
Yeah.
lose.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, Patrice, this was so good talking to you. Thank you so much for giving me 2 hours on a Saturday.
Yeah, I have to still get some groceries, so
Yeah.
yeah, that
Oh
was
God,
the other
yeah.
thing.
It's late. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, and
Thank you.
you're so welcome. And Patrice, I will leave. Patrice is all over Instagram and everything else. Are there any things that you're working on now that you want to like promote?
Work? Are you kidding me? We all expect just the things to be well. It's there will be no normal, but no. The thing is, like, I'm still, I still haven't really figured out that whole TikTok thing. And I just seriously, I feel like I do it like for 1 or 2 days, and then afterwards I feel like no, I'm not talented enough for it. But no, like social media, there's nothing really that I have to say anything else. I'm just trying to do my thing, and then we
Do your
see
thing.
nothing on the international platform yet. On the German thing,
Not
we'll see
yet.
about that. Not
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 yet.
yet, not yet.
All right, my love. Well, again, thank you so much. And I'm sure we will have you back on.
Hope so. So
Yeah,
take care. It's a hi to the fam.
I will.
Nice to be in orbit.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much. Wow, an hour and 28 minutes. You're a freaking trooper. Thank you so much for tuning in and for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. Now, those are two people who really love to talk. Yeah, just in case you couldn't figure that one out. I mean, it is Patrice's job, really, to talk to cameras, to talk to people. So that's fitting. And obviously, you already know, I love talking. Anyway, it was so nice to catch up with him. And, you know, I really have to say I appreciate the fact that we have completely different perspectives on so many things. And I love that, you know, we form these relationships with people in our lives, you know, that can last this long. Especially people we don't get to see that often. So thank you for witnessing my connection with my friend. And I hope that some of it brought you some joy, because it brought us some joy. So take care, and I'll see you next week.